And Bongino has been scrambled early for us. You know, he's done just about everything in this world. Former Secret Service agent. He's hosted the damn Bongino show. They named it first and then hired him. And then he's also been an NYPD officer. So we got to bring it to culture, this culture war that we're having now between who can offend who and what should happen. Joy Reid is the latest. So we go back in time to look at some of the things she said and some of the things she posted. At first, she said the FBI has to investigate this. I've been hacked. Later, she didn't. Said she doesn't recognize that person anymore. And then she issued this apology. Says there are things I deeply regret and I'm embarrassed by, things I should have said differently, and issues where my positions have changed. Today, I'm sincerely apologizing again. So she did not address that on her show. Looks like she got a pass. Is that okay, Dan?
No, it's not, Brian. And I'd like to make 2 points on this. Number one, I've heard often that, oh, there's a double standard out there. Brian, that's actually inaccurate, okay? There's a standard for conservatives, and the standard is this. You screw up, you will be boycotted and potentially fired from your job. That's the standard. There's not a double standard. There's no standard for the left. The left, you can use the most vile of terms. There was a word used by Samantha Bee so vile that even locker room, I talk, that is beyond the realm. That is what I call a showstopper word. You say it, everybody stops and looks at the person who said it and said, did you just say that? That was used on television, Brian. That was used on television in a scripted set. What happened to her? She apologized and she moves on. Joy Reid, vile, homophobic stuff in her blog. What happens? She gets a free pass. If that were a conservative, they would be gone the next day, no question about it.
Yeah, Dan, just to remind some of our viewers of the posts that we have now seen, they have surfaced. 9/11, an inside job. Also, I thought one of the worst was the Virginia Tech shooter with John McCain's head on top of it. I mean, she had the ability to actually put that out on her blog. It's not just like something that she thought of, you know, that it was actually put out there for the world to see. And as you said, she had the FBI look into it saying, there's no way I could have done this myself. Why not then come on the air on MSNBC and show a genuine apology as if you really did change? Talk to your viewers, talk to your audience and say, I really regret doing this. This was horrific. I am a changed person. Why can't you at the very least do that?
Well, a couple of reasons. Number one, I don't think these apologies are as sincere as they're making them out to be. You know, these may have been at the time genuine feelings. I mean, when you're a genuinely, whatever she wants to call it, evolved person, you're apt to get out on the air and want to do that. But can I say on this too, Abby? You know, seriously, I'm in this conservative content space like you guys are. What are the rules? Is it just fair for us to be able to ask, what are the rules? Are the rules you screw up? We're all going to screw up at some time. We all do content. You guys are live. You know, my show isn't. I have the ability to edit stuff. And there are times I've gone back and said, you know, that could be taken the wrong way and we cut stuff out. What are the rules? Are we allowed to apologize and then save our careers? Or are the rules you screw up one time, you send one bad tweet, and it's over? I think it's fair for conservatives and liberals to get together and say, fine. And you know what? Ironically, that's the one thing Sean Hannity and Bill Maher agree on. They both agree that people should be allowed to apologize and move on without the threat of constant boycotts to their careers and everything else. It's absurd.
And if you don't like somebody on TV, change the channel.
Change the channel.
Right.
Bingo.
Meanwhile, let's talk a little bit about this. Ben Rhodes, who has been at President Obama's side when he was in the Oval Office as a special advisor. He's coming out with a new book, and he quotes the president at the night of the election in 2016, realizing that Donald Trump was about to take office. He says, Mr. Obama said this, what if we were wrong? Maybe we pushed too far, Mr. Obama said. Maybe people just want to fall back into their tribe. Sometimes I wonder whether I was 10 or 20 years too early, he said. Now, what does that sound like to you? Does that sound like President Obama was saying, you know, this has been a failure unless I was born 10 or 20 years in the future?
No, it sounds like he's blaming the American people. Here's what it really sounds like. Oh, they just weren't ready for my greatness yet. No, let me tell you what we weren't ready for. We weren't ready for your massive tax hikes, the worst GDP rates from a recovery from a recession in modern American history, your massive amounts of red tape you imposed on America, your war on school choice, your war on religion, and even worse, what we weren't ready for, Mr. Obama, was your weaponization of government through the IRS mess, this disgusting Spygate scandal. That's what we weren't ready for. But he's starting to realize that the real Obama record's coming out. So what does he do? He takes the Jimmy Carter malaise route and blames it on the American people. You just weren't ready for my higher order ideas. Give me a break. We were never going to be ready for that garbage.
Maureen Dowd was one who called him out in the New York Times yesterday, as if to say that the message that she's getting is that we're not worthy of him.
Yeah, I read the piece, and it's interesting but she does get on him a bit at the end, where she says, "Hey, listen, he fell into the trap he set for Hillary himself when he ran against her, as she was the establishment and he was the change agent." And of course, he's like, "Well, how didn't we see this coming with Donald Trump? Of course, he was going to play the same game on her we did."
Yeah, it's a great piece. If you haven't read it, Maureen Dowd, who analyzes this, go read it.
Who's not a friend of Donald Trump, by the way.
No.
All right, thanks, Dan. Appreciate it.